a team of 6 or 8, and the winning team gets $10,000 for a weekend. That'd be nice.
Yes.
When is there going to be CrossFit betting?
There already has been.
There was in the past.
Yeah.
During the 2020 games, you could. Yeah. And there has been in the past.
Senior degenerate correspondent Tommy Marquez has more on that.
CrossFit actually published it themselves.
When are they going to bring it back? Wait, really?
Yeah, I think they either had a deal or a loose association, or they basically allowed the book to provide betting on the 2020 games. I think stage 2 and stage 1, there was definitely betting, and I immediately was like, all right, I want to see what the juice is. And they had a cap on it. You couldn't bet more than $50.
Yeah, because there's kind of some sure things that were going on there.
It's like 20. I was like, how do I bet my life savings on Tia and Matt at that point?
You know what we need to do, and this is something we've talked about with our patrons. And instead of this training camp thing, we need a CrossFit version of the Ryder Cup that is really just the next iteration of the Invitational.
Yeah.
Where you allow the different continents that are involved in the competitive landscape to have a captain who picks 6 or 8 people. You have a weekend competition that involves mixed pairs, maybe 3 teams of 3, individual competition. So you don't wear the athletes out over 2 days. You cut down to 4 teams after 1 day, and you have an international competition. And I think that would be a lot of fun. I think that actually would be, to me, that would be more enjoyable than watching the training camps throw down against each other, because training camps fluctuate. People move, whereas continents and citizenship, that ain't changing.
Oh, see, but to me, that almost adds to the training camp intrigue, right? If like
they
someone
could recruit somebody.
Well, dude, got traded.
Oh, imagine if like this. So Brooke Wells moves to HWPO. Imagine if we had that matchup coming in like 2 months, and she's got to step out onto the floor to compete against Proven.
No, I mean, it absolutely would be interesting.
That's real sports right there.
For sure. That's true. That is really true. I do miss. I think after watching some of the Ryder Cup highlights and the all that, I missed the international thing. And I think if you expanded it to the next iteration of the Invitational, expanded it to include more continents, and you let, for example, you could let the United States athletes the American athletes who are at the games vote on their captain. Could be a coach or an athlete. That athlete or coach is able to select a roster of, call it 3 men and 3 women, and you have to pick the top 2 in your country in the worldwide rankings. That way the worldwide rankings mean something.
Yeah.
Everybody else fills in. And you're going to have, and not everybody is going to compete in every test or event over these 2. So you have to, there's some strategy there. Who are you going to match up? Who's going to be your twosome? Who's going to be your mixed pair? Who's going to be your team of 3? Who's going to be on the team of 4? That kind of thing. And who's going to be your 2 individuals maybe that take on these 2 tests. And you do it over a weekend, and that to me has, I don't know if I want to say fewer hurdles, because there's always hurdles to get an in-person competition going. But I think from a sponsorship standpoint and an international intrigue standpoint, that is more fun than training camp.
The thing that the nation or region competition has over the training camps is that it doesn't necessarily exclude athletes that train alone or aren't part of a bigger camp, right? Because you do want to see some of your biggest stars take place. I think it could be both, right?
Sure.
Because I do like the idea of someone switching camps and then I'll have them to turn around and go back and compete against that camp for money. It's Joe Montana coming back and playing at Candlestick as part of the Chiefs. It's like it's that stuff that happens in sports all the time with team sports, but it would certainly be intriguing. I mean, it's kind of like the Rogue Again Faster.
I was just thinking of that. I was just going to bring that up,
which is fascinating because Rich Froning was part of Again Faster at that time.
Really?
Yeah, he wasn't part of the Rogue. And if you remember, I believe one of the competitions, you got to like call out people or pick who you went head to head, and I think they purposefully put Rich versus Graham in a workout because Rich had just lost at the game, and it was like there was an awesome race between Rob Orlando and Dave Lipson, and I want to say it started with 20 back squats at 225 off the rip from the ground, and it was just a total meat wagon, just throwing bars and plates around.
Yeah, but I don't know. That I miss the Invitational. I miss I understand why it's not happening. That's a lot of resources for what amounts to a 4-hour competition. Mm-hmm. But if you could make it a weekend,
if you could sell it,
I think it'd be a lot of fun. Yeah, you could move it around. You could have it in Europe. You could have it in the United States. You could have it in Canada. You could South America, wherever. Anyway, that's my suggestion. But yeah, it's an intriguing thing. But it's just one more. It's like, okay, well, now we have one more thing we got to worry about in the off season. But if you found a way to do it and you didn't beat people up over a weekend, and they only had to do maybe 2 or 3 things, then I think that's a lot more doable. Okay, up next, let's get to our interview with Lucy Campbell. She does a really good job of recapping what is going on with her wrist, which was a lot more involved than I thought. That's a pretty incredible story. We get an update on where she is kind of in that process, what it has taken her to get to the point now where she is maybe being able to move forward, and what the prognosis for her is as far as coming back to compete in CrossFit one day. So here is our conversation with Lucy Campbell. Let's bring in our guest, joined now by Lucy Campbell. Lucy, how are you?
Yeah, not bad, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Well, just saw the brace on the left wrist. Now, for people who aren't familiar with kind of what's been going on with your left wrist saga, can you take us back to the beginning and just sort of walk us through everything that has happened up until now?
Yeah. How long have we got?
All the time you need.
It is a long story.
Yep.
So I was experiencing wrist pain for quite a lot of the 2022 season, probably from between quarterfinals, semi-finals time. And we just assumed that it was inflammation and that, when things training-wise started to, relax a bit, I guess, after the games, everything would settle down, and it didn't. And so kind of this time last year,